Rock and roll. Hello, boys and girls. That's Mike Michaels on guitar. This is the Chris and Mike Show. Thanks for coming by and having a listen. What is that? Is that something new?
I just made that up as we're sitting here. You know me, man. That's how I roll. It just comes and comes and comes and comes. I have no.
That's what she said.
Idea. I was waiting for that. I set you up, buddy.
You did set me up. Thank you.
I have no idea where all that comes from. I'm just thankful it does.
Yeah. That's like me with writing lyrics. They just pop into my head one day and then boom, I have a song.
Yeah.
I know. It's the muse. It's the muse. So I'm wearing my bison. This was a thing we did at the Yellowstone, right? Yeah, Yellowstone before Yellowstone was cool. Did a 5K and a Friday and a half marathon on a Saturday in the mountains. It was fun.
That's awesome.
So because we did both, we got these 16.2, I'm sorry, the Bison Challenge. It was pretty cool. Thing called vacation races, which we've done quite a bit of. They have these destination races where you go, like we've done Lake Powell, Yosemite, Yellowstone. We were going to do Iceland before COVID hit, but then COVID hit and shut the world down. That one would have been cool because that was a global adventure for vacation races where you'd run every day, like 5Ks, and then the second to last day is the half marathon, and you're with a group of people, and you see all the stuff and all the things. And,
that's awesome.
It would have been cool, but it got shut down because of the COVID. So here we are. Hey, I ran 9 miles today on the treadmill. That's the fastest I've gotten since my recovery.
Very nice.
So that was cool. That's a 640 mile. I only did it for a quarter of a mile, but I'm still capping my running at 1.5 miles. I can't go any further than that.
So what was your actual injury?
Is a little bit more. Stress fracture on my second metatarsal. So essentially I broke my foot.
Ouch. And they had to do surgery?
Yeah. Well, the fun thing is no surgery. It was just to hurry up and wait. The fun thing was I did it probably in December of 21 at the Laughlin Half, probably hairlined it. And then the 3 doctors I had, the first 2 were absolute idiot, dumbass motherfuckers that wasted my time and caused more injury because I kept running. Second one I got decided to have me run on inclines because she said it was my gait. And I'm like, well, my gait's never changed, but she had me doing inclines on treads. So I started doing 4% minimum incline all the way up to 7%, still going at that time because I was in outstanding cardio shape. I did my mile benchmark run back to back same day, unbeknownst to me with a broken foot, and got both under 6 minutes. At 52 years old.
That's impressive.
Yeah. With a broken foot, which I didn't realize it was broken because then by March that year is when they finally started cross-referencing MRIs and realized, oh shit, yeah, you have a stress fracture, your second metatarsal, and yeah, no shit, you think? I've just been telling you for months there's something wrong with me.
Well, at least your recovery's going well.
I walked in the door, x-rayed me. Yeah, it's been a month now exactly that I've been baby stepping everything. It's just cool. It's good to be running. It was nice to get up to 9 miles an hour today on the treadmill. I'm not gonna lie. That was a good thing. That was a very good thing. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. I hadn't run since February of this year. So, it was good. And then I stopped. I hit my mile and a half and I walked. It was 23 minutes on the treadmill today, but I followed the rules. I stopped at a mile and a half. I was yawning. So how are you, Mike Michaels? How was your day?
Well, I can definitely appreciate your progress on recovery, because not that long ago, when I decided that we were going to write music again, I realized that I had been playing all along, but I had not been really playing. You know, there's a difference between just messing around, sitting on the couch, and actually being able to physically make it through a song without stopping, making mistakes, being frustrated because you physically can't do it, right? My stamina and my dexterity had gone by the wayside for a lot of things. So to be able to sit down and do what I just did, even 8 weeks ago, would not have been possible. I couldn't make it that far being that technically proficient. So it's nice to be on the flip side of that.
Well, you had something called...
I had trigger finger, yeah.
You had trigger finger. So explain what that is so our audience knows what that's about. It's not about...
No, it's definitely not from shooting guns. It's from years and years of repetitive motion.
Right.
You know, AKA playing a guitar, working on an assembly line now for the last 13 years. So you wake up in the morning and your finger is literally like this. It's like a hook. And no matter what you do, you can't open it physically on your own. You have to use your other hand to pry that finger open. And it's some of the most excruciating pain you've ever been in your life, man. I screamed every time I did it. It just hurts uncontrollably.
Wow.
And there's really nothing they can do for it other than it either heals itself, or you have to go see a surgeon, orthopedic, and get that tendon cut and then basically it's sewn back together so it's stretched out again. You've pulled that tendon so far that it can't stretch anymore. So luckily my sister is a physical therapy assistant. So she gave me some exercises to do and they worked. She's very good at what she does. And thank you, Melissa, for telling me what I needed to do, because that actually worked. I did it religiously every day. It was just basically you take both your hands and put them together, and as far as you can stand, you know, bend them one way, then bend them back the other way, and just hold it there for like 5 seconds at a time. You're just working that tendon out so that it stretches. It doesn't get stuck. While you sleep, it gets stuck. That's why you wake up with your finger like that. So yeah, very thankful to be on the mend.
I got these funky. Yeah, and see, I have these funky pinkies. See my funky little pinkies? They're just these weird little... They like to just hang loose for real, man.
Hey.
Which is, you know, never affected my ability to sing at all.
Let me tell you something that's going to come back around on this podcast. Remember the pinky, folks.
Okay.
Because when my buddy Rob is a guest on here, his pinky is more jacked than anybody's I've ever seen in my life, and for some reason he just won't get it fixed. So we'll have him show everyone. It's hideous.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
What did he do to his pinky?
I'll let him tell the story because he tells stories better than anyone I know.
Okay.
And you will be laughing your ass off. It should be the most downloaded podcast we have. If anybody likes comedy and funny stories.
We'll just call it the Pinky Show.
It'll be funny.
That's awesome.
Just struck me as funny when you held your pinkies up. I'm like, I got a story about that.
Right. So last week we talked about Sammy and Dave. Did you hear the news that Sammy's doing a tour with Loverboy, and it's basically a tribute to Eddie?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Was it 2 weeks ago? Okay.
Yeah, last week we talked Nemesis and Fire
2 weeks
trucks.
ago we talked, Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So 2 weeks ago we talked about David Lee Roth versus Sammy, and then Neanderthal, local jock here in Arizona, who's a huge presence in the radio world in Arizona.
Remember him?
He was alluding to it. I saw it earlier because I get emails from Ticketmaster agencies and all those places that update me on stuff. And so yeah, Loverboy and Sammy Hagar, and the set list apparently is all Van Halen, which Neanderthal was a little irritated because he loved Eddie, and there was never any type of memorial, for Eddie at all. There was a couple of songs played during the Tyler, I forget his last name, or Taylor Hawkins tribute that Foo Fighters did, and Wolfgang came on stage with him and did a couple Van Halen songs. That apparently was the extent of an Eddie Van Halen tribute. I don't know if that's true or not.
So the last thing that I read,
Sammy's,
not to interrupt you, but the last thing that I read from Sammy was that he was offended that there had not been a tribute to Eddie, but he didn't feel like it was his place to do it when Wolfgang and Alex are still alive, right? And nobody's heard from Alex in a long time.
Right.
And that's his business. I mean, I'm not saying that he should do anything one way or the other, but nobody should be busting Sammy's balls for not doing an Eddie tribute, He feels like that's not his place.
Oh, I agree. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Sammy going out and doing an entire tour wrapped around Van Halen music, because he and Eddie wrote brilliant songs, right? I mean, Sammy,
he was in the band.
As great of a showman, he's not that.
He's in the Hall of Fame as Van Halen,
right? Sammy's not that, right? And Sammy individually, solo wise, he's not that great of a songwriter. I mean, nothing against the man, Not that any of our stuff we ever wrote is, in the Hall of. But he's just not, like, he released stuff with the Circle, I think is what he called his last project, and it was stupid. Like, he's trying too hard, I think is what it is. Like, you just got to let that shit flow. I've never tried it. Whenever I wrote music or wrote lyrics, to songs, if I got to a point to where there was nowhere else to go with that song, I'd just stop, and I would never force myself to write anything, because I think if you force it, then it's not genuine, and then you're pulling cliches together. And
I'm going to agree with
you on this one. If it doesn't flow, then don't write it.
I'm definitely going to agree with you on this one. I like what they do as a musician, but from a selling or commercial standpoint, right away, I understand nobody's going to like this except other musicians. It doesn't have that hook.
Right.
You listen to any CCR song. Why do people still listen to CCR every day by the billions?
It's got that hook.
It sucks you right in, man. Let me give you a statistic.
Yep.
For the longest time,
okay,
I wondered who the greatest songwriter in the world was. I just recently watched a CCR documentary.
Right.
I was blown away,
and then,
man.
Obviously,
I still
top of mind could be anybody.
I still cannot.
Big explosions.
I can't believe that this is even true. In 18 months, John Fogerty wrote 5 gold albums.
That's insane.
5.
That's insane. Yeah.
In 18 months.
18 months. Wow. And what was it?
It was between 1969 and 1971, I believe. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
Did I lose you?
And what was it?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit. What was his? Did you talk about his reason for doing so?
He was going to lose his record deal if his next record wasn't a hit, so he felt like every song should be a good one.
Yeah. It's too bad that the industry now just focuses on one hit wonders, and there's no labels anymore really backing. There's no distribution backing, because everybody can just do it themselves, and
so
you just don't get.
That's the con of it, right? The pro side of it is you and I are sitting here 2,000 miles apart doing a podcast with modern technology, right? So we can also write an entire album on the same equipment, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So the good side of it is,
Oh, absolutely.
if you and I were in the 90s when we formed Nemesis, we were limited to
Mm-hmm.
analog gear. We went in an analog
Right,
studio.
right,
We recorded the tape. There was no
right,
digital anything then. There was ADAT and a few things that were kind of breaking new technology that very few people had. Pro Tools was in its infancy, but we
right,
basically played with Marshalls through big giant PA systems, and everything was analog. Now, my studio right
right.
here consists of a MacBook Pro and a nice Focusrite preamp and a couple other magic things that don't really mean anything to anybody but you and I. So there's the pro side of it.
Right.
You're right. The con side of it is a band doesn't get to develop the way we did in Nemesis either nowadays, correct?
Mm-mm.
Very few of them.
Yeah, true,
You
true.
don't
Oh,
go out
true.
and play
Absolutely.
clubs
Right.
for years and then get noticed and start selling CDs at a slow pace and get a development deal, which is what we had at one time. You just don't see those things happening. But I guess, Justin Bieber got famous just off YouTube or TikTok or whatever he did. So there's the pro side of it again. He didn't need anybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. It's like the I don't know if I think he's a current singer of Journey, that the Filipino guy.
Yes.
He got discovered because of his
YouTube, right?
Journey karaoke, basically. And yeah, YouTube. They found him on YouTube. You know, and I recently downloaded um, a Journey album that was all their live stuff, and he's really good at Steve Perry's level of singing, to where
Oh, it's if you close your
I
eyes,
love
you'd
Steve
never know
Perry.
the
Journey was
difference.
one of the bands I grew up loving. Yeah, yeah. So there's a couple tracks on that I had to look at to make sure that it was actually Steve and not. I think his name's Arnaud Pinimois or something.
I can't remember. I'll
But
take your word
legit,
for it.
you can kind of tell, because Perry's personality comes through his character, shines through his vocals, so you can kind of tell his
Agreed.
nuances if you've listened to him like I have since I was 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
So you can see it, you can hear it, you can hear the differences a little bit, but that Filipino dude, man, is spot on with the most of this stuff. That it's just like the delivery of some of the words makes you realize, okay, that's Steve, that's not the other guy, or vice versa. But if you're looking for a live album of Journey, it's phenomenal. It's a really
Oh, he's
good.
definitely as
If I
close
have
as
it on my
anybody
phone,
that I've ever heard
it's
for
a
sure.
really good. Yeah, yeah. So let's see. Um, the brilliance of music. It's no, I got Escape. I remastered Escape, which was cool. That's a great album too. Escape. I used to fall asleep to that.
I just listened to that one at work the other day. It's amazing.
It's a good album, man.
Oh yeah. You know another tune that just came up the other day that I had forgotten about because they wrote that candy ass shit in the 80s was
What?
oh god, Starship. Jefferson Starship. Find Your Way Back.
Oh, Jefferson Starship.
Holy
Yeah,
shit. Everybody do
Find Your Way
yourself a
Back.
favor
It's
and go out to
yeah.
YouTube right now and type in Find Your Way Back by Jefferson Starship and turn it up. What do you got there? I don't have my glasses on, bro.
Yeah. So that's the Journey. That's the greatest. That's the great. It's the greatest hits Journey album. Oh, my thing's fading. There we go. And the artwork, which I don't see the relevance to it, but the artwork was done by Duff McKagan of obviously Guns N' Roses fame.
Badass.
But it's
I
17
apologize. I don't have my
tracks.
glasses on. I'm
Um,
trying to look cool, but I'm old.
it's okay. It's okay. It's got 17 tracks on it. Um, and they're all. I mean, all the songs that on this live thing are the hits. Exception of one, I don't know, Wine of Fire, but everything else I've heard of, and it's a jamming album, man, for a live thing for sure. You know. So yeah, it's good. It's good. So yeah, if you're a Journey fan, greatest hits. It's a good thing.
I will definitely have to check it out because I do like listening to that guy's version of the songs. If you can't hear Steve Perry, you might as well hear somebody, and that's why
It's
they're out there
mostly
doing
Steve
it.
Perry.
So,
Yeah,
oh, this one is mostly
yeah,
Steve
and it's
Perry.
mostly Steve Perry on that live because it's you can. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. There's a couple that are odd sings, but for the most of it, it's Steve Perry, and you can tell by the delivery of the words and the melodies, and I saw something on Steve Perry the other day on YouTube. Dude's like flowing gray hairs. It's one of those things, man. All the rockers from our youth are gonna just casually be gone in the next 10, 15 years, and I don't like that.
I know.
These are all getting old. You don't. Growing up in the MTV era, right? You have these visions imprinted in your brain
They're burned in
of
your mind of what
what
those
Journey
people
looks
look
like,
like.
and then you see them now. It's like right, right. Like right now, the Scorpions are doing the
It
40th
happens to me
anniversary
all
of
the
Love at
time.
First Sting, man. 40 years ago, Love at First Sting came out, and it was
I
a
know, and if
baby
you
boom because "Still Loving You" was one of those songs that, right,
you see them now, and they're just totally gray, and
mind-boggling. Yeah,
but they probably
and
sound
all
better than
wearing
they
hats
ever
because they don't
have.
want anybody to see that they don't have any hair. It's like,
Yeah, it's all good. I don't have any hair.
yeah, yeah. Probably, I'm sure. I haven't seen them in a while. I don't either. But I didn't have hair when we were in Nemesis because I shaved it. You
Okay,
know,
so
I
there's a
had a
good story.
I had a bald cap. I was a play.
There's a good story.
Yeah.
So
So I
one of my
was in a
friends.
play. Yeah.
I just showed one of my friends that picture, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you continue with your story. I apologize.
Okay.
The person picked you
That's
as
okay. It's all
me
good. So I was in a
because I'm
play.
bald, correct? They're like, "That's you, right?" And I'm like, "No,
Right
I'm the
on.
dude playing the guitar, right? I told you I was a
Yeah.
guitar player for how many
Yeah.
years?" And they're, "I can't believe you had that long
Mm-hmm.
hair." And I said, "Well, let me tell you another story. He shaved his head before it was socially acceptable,
Yeah.
and everyone was like scared shitless of him.
Oh
That
yeah.
just wasn't done back then,
Mm-hmm.
unless
No.
you were a
No.
skinhead,
And the irony of it.
which we got
Right.
booked
And
with."
and see the irony back then. I had a I had a blue lifted Ford pickup, and on the back windows I had an American flag and an Arizona flag. I lived with a black guy who was in the Muslim stuff in Farrakhan, and I was wearing, unbeknownst to me because of my ignorance, I used to wear this red and black checkered flannel with black Doc Martens. So we'd walk around the mall together, and he'd be wearing his Muslim Farrakhan hat, and I'm in this red and black flannel, and we'd go in this corner into the stores, the corner, and we'd just watch people go out the other side. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then finally, about a year later, I realized, oh, I got a shaved head, looked like a total skinhead because of how I dressed, which was nothing intentional. It was the
No,
flannel era. And then Courtney, that was his name. He was all into the just anything Louis Farrakhan and I forget some of the other guys that he was really into and reading and studying. And he was in the Tai Chi and all this, chakras and stuff. Really great human. But it just the two of us walking down the street just caused alarm. And the whole reason I shaved my head was because I was in a play and we were doing the
okay,
dress rehearsal, and that's basically the night before the show goes on. You run the entire play for just the directors and the staff, and my bald cap ripped when we were taking off the makeup and stuff, and it would have taken 2 weeks because Amazon didn't exist to actually get the bald cap from New York. So I was like, well, fuck it, I'll just shave my head, and it was shoulder length, and I mohawked it for one night and went to campus the next day with a mohawk, and then right before the play shaved it off, put the ball, and then they have to do ball cap, just make-upped it up, and that was it. And then I showed up at band
so
practice I think 2 days later with a shaved head, and you guys were like, what?
that's what I was just going to ask you. So when I met you, I knew you had hair, but I was convincing myself as you were telling this story that you never had hair. But I'm like, I know he had hair when he joined the band. You're right. You showed up that day and everybody was like, holy shit, man, what did you do? But it gave us such a unique look, man, because Rick had his hipster look. You had the shaved head, which made you look mean as all hell. And Scott and I had long hair, and we looked like long hairs.
Right.
We looked like rockers at that time.
That's and then about a month after, right, and then about a month after I did it, Michael Stipe from REM shaved his head, and then thus the world began embracing white men shaving their hair off.
This is a true story. I had forgotten that too.
What the hell, Michael? But legit, nobody shaved their heads, man. Like no one. That's why, and of course, in college, because it was a college production, all the chicks were like, "Oh my God, you have such gorgeous hair." Really? Why did you say so? Why I still had gorgeous hair? Why do you wait till it's all gone to tell me I had gorgeous hair?
I actually used to get that while I had it, so I can say that.
Right.
Like I always got asked the question.
She knows she has gorgeous hair because,
I always got asked the question, where do you get your hair done? And the answer was always the shower, because if I had to put forth any effort to do this, it wouldn't be there. Right. That's, me better than anybody, man. I didn't go get my hair done in a salon.
Yeah.
It was just naturally curly.
No, that's probably why so many. Right. That's probably why so many rockers throughout the years, their hair gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Like I saw something with I think it was that Joe Rogan thing I saw with David Lee Roth on he's military buzz, and he had this long flowing lion's mane, that was one of his trademark things. And now he's just, this much hair on his head.
At some point you got to say enough's enough. You either embrace the fact that it's all gone. To quote the great George Costanza,
right?
These are the remnants of a once great civilization. You have to come to that conclusion. It's got to go. Or you rock the skullet and everyone laughs at you because you don't know you're bald yet.
Yeah. Right. Even Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge, he's always had kind of long shoulder length hair it keeps creeping up when they were here recently, it's not as long as it used to be, and it's graying. So when they post pictures and stuff on their page, I'm like, yeah, get something current, man, because that one's probably from a couple years ago.
But I'll tell you, so at the end of the day, you think back, and at least I have to laugh because I'm like, what the fuck, man? It's so much better now to just be able to get up and go. My grandpa used to ask me all the time when I'd come home for Christmas. He hated my hair. So I'd get the same question every year.
Yeah.
You think that long hair makes you play that guitar any better? And I'd be like, no, it just looks cool, And he'd always say, not from where I'm standing. Mm-hmm. So there you have that. Right. He hated it.
Yeah. Long-haired freaky people need not apply, right?
It was cool at the time. And, we did have a good look. And that was part of the band. It was part of who we were. Mm-hmm. It was important that we had an image. You have to sell an image. You're selling a sound, you're selling the songs, but you're also selling an image. You can't just go up there and look like everybody else in the crowd.
Absolutely.
Right? Nobody wants to see themselves get up there. They want to see some, like you said, they want to see the long-haired freaky people do something to entertain us. Mm-hmm. So we did. We played loud, aggressive music that you couldn't talk over because it was loud and aggressive.
I don't know if it was aggressive. It was more. It was hard rock. I would say hard rock. I don't think we were aggressive at all. I could be wrong.
Well, not like death.
We could play with anybody.
Exactly.
No. Yeah.
I'm just saying that we found our niche.
We could play with anybody.
Absolutely. That was our niche, is we could play with absolutely anybody, which is why we worked 3-4 nights a week.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And the trippy thing is, and I think last week we talked about it, I totally forgot we opened for Marshall Tucker Band. And there's one of my all time favorite bands. And back then I didn't even register that we were opening for Marshall Tucker. I hadn't yet like expanded
That
my
was one of your first gigs with
musical
the band.
library at that time. Yeah, yeah, yep.
I was
Who
trying
would
to
have
remember
thought,
the other
man?
day.
Marshall Tucker Band, and I still listen to him to this day.
Okay, so we'll scratch the story I was going to tell because I just put something in perspective. So we opened up for Marshall Tucker
Okay.
and Sacred Reich,
Yep.
just to prove your
Yep.
point that we could
And
play with
enough's
anybody.
enough.
We opened up for Enough's Enough, Tony
Right.
McAlpine, Pat Travers.
Yep. Oh yeah.
There was a little known band in the 90s who were a one-hit wonder, and I had to go back and look up what the song was, and I'll never remember what it was now, but I do remember the band.
Yeah.
We opened up for a band called Catfish. Do you remember that show?
I do. Yeah.
They had a really
the name. I remember
cool
the name
song.
Catfish. I don't know if I remember the band.
Yeah, look up that song on YouTube when you got time, man. You'll remember the song right away. It was on KUPD all the time.
Okay.
It was one of the ones that was in the rotation.
Okay.
And they played at the Mason Jar,
Right
and we
on.
opened up for them. I was going through my folder. I got all the tickets from all the shows that we played.
Nice.
Yeah, somehow
Right on.
that was in something that I got back from
I
Kevin.
have some stuff somewhere. Yeah. Right on.
That's really the only thing
I have to
left.
find my box. I have a. Yeah, you should reach out to him and see if he has anything else that he's not being forthright about having.
Nah,
because I don't think he threw everything away like he says.
Well, maybe he'll listen to the
I
podcast
don't know
and
why
he
he
can
would
send me a
throw
message
everything
if he's
away.
got something. It's all good. I don't hold any
Right.
ill will towards anybody, especially him, because he made sure I didn't die when I was at the worst point in my life. So I have nothing bad to say about anybody. I did my shit, they did their shit, and
Which is good.
we're still,
Which is really good.
You can't change the
Yeah.
past. I can only change the future. So if you happen to listen to this, Kevin, and you want to say, hey,
Right.
it's all good, man. Everything's good. We're all different people, right?
Yeah. Last I ran into him, I helped him. I helped him with something. I think it was real estate related. And he's a foster parent now. He fosters kids.
I see
Which
that.
is cool.
He's still my friend on Facebook. So
At
yeah,
least
I
last
see
time
all
I-
his.
my-
I think that is really
Oh,
cool,
right
man.
on.
I admire him for doing it.
Yeah.
It's been a while
So
since I've been
you're friends on
passionate.
Facebook, but you never poke at him?
No, I don't know if he doesn't. I don't know. I guess I'll just say hey. Sometimes you just gotta say hi.
Yeah. Say hey.
That's kind of what you did
Say
to
hey.
me.
What up,
You know,
Kevin?
we would go long periods without talking, and all of a sudden you'd pop up just out of the blue, or like my mom would run into you out in Arizona, or my brother would run into you, and they'd say hey. And
Yeah.
you and I have always kept in touch, though. There's just something between people who have gotten to the level of being in a band that we have that you can't break that bond.
Agreed. There's no, and nobody understands unless they've been in bands and been on stage and performed thousands of
It's
shows and
Different.
been
Yes.
there, done that. Yeah. It's a whole. That's why when like bands that have stayed together with the same lineup, like Scorpions have the
ZZ
same
Top.
lineup. No, because they got rid of Herman, the drummer. I don't know who's in it now. Like Rush
No,
was.
the
Rush was.
Scorpions
No, Russians
started
didn't
out with
maintain the original lineup
Michael
either.
Schenker.
Near the Guns N' Roses. Fuck. Maybe the Stones and the Who?
Oh no, they've had different members.
As far as. Okay.
The core members are the same. If we're going to count that, Charlie Watts, Keith
Yeah.
Richards, Mick. The bass players have
Yeah.
changed throughout the years. Ronnie Wood's been there long enough to be considered
wasn't
an
always Bill
original
Wyman?
Rolling Stone. Well, he's the original, but
Yeah.
he's gone now. But he died, didn't he?
Yeah, I
Or
knew
did
he was
die?
gone. I knew, but. No, Charlie died. I think Bill's just left.
Okay.
I just
ZZ
think
Top
Bill
was
left. I
the
could be
same three
wrong,
guys for all their years.
That's true. Until that one of them died, and they're still touring. Which I don't know how you tour. Your main basis of ZZ Top, the two long bearded guys out front.
So here's the story
You know,
behind that.
and yet you're still touring.
His longtime bass tech of, I don't know, 30, 40,
Yep.
45 years, he was there for a long time. It
Wow.
was Dusty's
Okay.
blessing that they continue on with him playing bass, because Dusty said he was every bit the bass player that he was, if not more. He wanted them to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. That was
Right
like
on.
in his dying wishes, or it was in his will, or there was actually physically
Yeah.
documentation saying, this is what I want. I would like the band to continue. This guy's as good
Yeah.
as I was or have ever been. And, he wouldn't have been my bass
Yeah.
tech if he
That's
wasn't a good
cool.
bass player, right? Just like a guitar player is not going to have
This is true.
they're not going to have a guitar tech that can't play
That's
guitar.
cool. I did not know that.
Usually your guitar tech is as good a
Because
player
then you
as
have
you
bands
are,
like
if not
Foreigner that
better,
have, we
and
talked
they
about
know
this
how to fix your
before,
shit.
not one single original member, they're still touring as Foreigner. Like, how's that work? Like, Journey has the core of the band, and then you have a singer that can pretty much emulate Steve Perry on point. I
Right.
still have never seen them without Steve Perry. It's just, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. It just doesn't work for me. It's kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't think you should call yourself the band name if you don't have at least the core members left. And Foreigner is just a name now. It has nothing to do with the band because they're all different. My opinion, anyway. I don't. What do I
I
know?
would
I'm
say
just a dude sitting in an office in
as long as you
Arizona.
have the blessing of the original members and the original members are getting paid, then I don't have a problem with it. But when there's a deal like, let's say, Great White, when Great White had all their problems, Jack Russell went his way, the band went their
Right.
way, and then there was a legal battle that ensued over that
Right.
name, right? Then I have a problem with it. It's like
Right.
either
Right.
everybody gets to use it or nobody gets to use it. That's when it's a problem.
Right.
Kiss has got something set up to where they want
Yeah.
Kiss to continue with no original members in the not too distant future, but that's their wishes. They want to keep making money off it. And if people want to go see it, who are we to say? I'm with you. I'm not
Yeah.
going to see it because I remember the original. But a 14-year-old kid right now doesn't have that same option that you and I had, right? So maybe he wants to go see as close to Kiss as he
Right.
can.
Right. Right. But then they need to be tribute. Kiss, asterisk tribute band when they do it because you're not. I get you're
Authorized
still
by
going to make
Kiss.
money off your name and stuff, but you just right something to that effect to where it's not. This isn't the original product, but it's as close to the original product you're going to get. It just
So you want a disclaimer
because there's
saying
plenty of
that
cover
there's
bands
no
that
original
are
members in this
tributes.
band, come at your own risk.
Right. Yeah. Because if
Okay.
you didn't
I'm fine
know,
with that. I'm
like if
fine
I
with
was a
that.
huge Foreigner fan right, right. If I'm a huge Foreigner fan, which I liked Foreigner for, that was about it. I liked some of the stuff that Luke Graham did on his solo stuff. Um, but if I'm going to go see Foreigner, I'm walking into that venue expecting to hear Lou Graham sing. So if Lou Graham's not singing, what am I paying for?
Agreed.
It's no different than like Queensryche, right? They had their split and their nonsense and chaos.
I would like to point out
So the
one thing
band
real quick
kept the name.
before I would like to point
Okay.
out one thing real quick. I would like the audience to realize that's how we wrote songs. Do you notice how that we resolved that problem very quickly without arguing? Nobody raised their voice. That's the kind of vibe that we're looking for on this
Right.
podcast. A lot of people are asking me why I'm doing this, what I want to get out of it. What I want to get out of it is a lot of things, but the main thing I want to get out of
Yeah.
it is to show the world what a connection two people had and how you can have conversations and debates and disagree without getting excited, getting in an argument. if you have your point and I have mine and we know that
Yeah.
we're not going to agree, we agree to disagree. That's why I kept asking
Right.
him questions
And
until
that's just, but that's, yeah.
I wanted to get to the root of what you were getting at. I thought I knew what you meant, but I had to keep
Yeah.
asking the right question until I got there, right? What he's asking for is he wants the public to be
Right. And it
aware
goes,
that the band has no original members
mm-hmm.
because he's a huge Foreigner fan, but he's a fan of Lou Gramm, just like I would be a fan of
Right.
Mick Jones as a guitar player, correct?
Right. Right. Yeah,
I just
exactly.
wanted the world to see where we're coming from.
That's the thing, like with, right. And that's the concept with Queensryche. Like everybody knows Jeff Tate left Queensryche. So when
Correct.
Queensryche tours, they know it's not Jeff Tate, because in Jeff Tate, when he's touring, Jeff Tate of Queensryche, Jeff Tate will do. He's come through Arizona so much since he went solo. It's kind of like, dude, you're wearing your welcome out. Stop.
Let me ask
Like,
you
it's
this:
almost every 6 months he shows up and does a show. It's
Have
like,
you seen the other guy?
Yeah. No. I hear
Have
he's
you even heard
phenomenal,
him?
though.
I haven't even heard him. I need to do myself a favor and go listen to him.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard him, but I've heard that he's like just younger, stronger voice. The other mind blowing thing, Jeff Tate smokes. Like Freddie Mercury smoked. I don't blows my mind. And Freddie Mercury smoked like a pack a day. Shit, it blows my mind how singers.
Some people just have
just knowingly. Yeah,
amazing
I just
genetics.
Mind boggling.
But those guys didn't live to be that old, so who knows? They might have blown their voice out,
Well, Freddie Mercury died from AIDS, the complications. That has nothing to do with smoking, but just the fact that, like, all singers, you push the power comes from your diaphragm, and then you can inject your throat, know how to manipulate it to where your throat singing, and combination of both, which I did in Nemesis. There was stuff that was all throat, no throat, you know what I mean? But somebody with a range like Mercury and just his power and presence as a singer alone. I didn't know until years ago that he's like was just a chain smoker. I'm like, what the fuck? Like Eddie Van Halen, who cares? You're playing guitar, chain smoker. You do little background harmonies here and
right.
there, but you're not doing a show, a 90-minute show singing and constantly smoking. Like I've seen stuff from Metallica's tour where Hetfield's sucking down cigars side stage before he goes out. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like
you don't
he's in
inhale
his 50s
those
now, so
you don't inhale those. He's in his 60s.
but you're still fucking hitting the cigar, man. Okay, well, even worse, you're still hitting the cigar. It's still hitting your throat, whether you inhale or not. You're still bringing an element into your instrument, which singers.
I understand where you're coming from.
To where you just right. It's just I've had my share of problems with my voice over the years, but it's never something that I abused knowingly. And to me, smoking as a singer, you're just knowingly, willingly abusing your instrument. It's kind of like you with guitar, like you mentioned earlier. Like if you don't play, you lose it, and you have to get back to that constant where you're just fiddling around with it every day for a couple hours, getting your rhythm back, getting your fingers back, and it's no different than if I decided, I'm going to go, join a cover band and sing 2 nights a week. I'm not in vocal shape to do that. I have to go back, go back to a voice teacher for a couple months. And I mean, I still know all the drills and exercises, but it's just always good to have somebody that it's like a trainer. You go work out. I don't go work out by myself. I go work at Orange Theory because they have trainers that this is what you're doing. This is how you do it. And you need that.
Well, and that's something that
very rare do I think anybody
think about from a singer standpoint is you're carrying your instrument around with you at all times. So a singer is always in fear of getting sick, and usually singers are not germaphobes, but they're more aware of things like that because you are carrying your voice around with you. And if you get sick, you can't sing and you can't perform. Like you said, I can get blowed out drunk. I can get stoned. I can do whatever. And I can still get up there and play my guitar because your playing comes from your subconscious. Yours does too, but your instrument's also part of your body. People take that that, if you don't hang out with musicians, you don't even think about that, is what I'm getting at. Only musicians actually think about the singer because you hear it all the time. Hey man, if you're sick, stay away from me because I got a show tomorrow.
Yep. That's why it was always, even before knuckles were cool, it was, I don't want to shake your hand. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just because, before all the hand sanitizers and shit, I always was just, that's the one thing about microphones too, is like you never, from a singer standpoint, nobody touches my mic. Like, fuck off. Don't.
No,
sing
he
in my
even had
mic.
his
Don't
own
fucking-
mic stand that he could have killed somebody with. Do you still have that?
Yep. I don't. It broke. The guitarist in my last band decided it'd be funny to throw something in the trailer when we were packing up for the Road to Sturgis tour, and broke it.
Oh man.
And then right then and there, the drummer was like, "Oh, right." And then the drummer's like, "That's a bad omen. That's a bad omen." So I gave it. I connected with Neil, who
explain to the fine people who are listening what we're talking about, because they have no idea what we're talking about. So either describe it to them, or if you have a picture.
I wish I had a picture, but I don't have a picture. But I have a tattoo. So the tattoo, which you can't really see, I'll have to take a picture of it and somehow get it on. But the tattoo.
This mic stand was fucking amazing.
Neil drew the tattoo because Neil created it. Right. So the mic stand itself was my hand. We molded my hand in this resin. So I was holding the mic like this in my hand, and the whole thing went down. Like, went down from my shoulder, but this was up. So
okay.
The base of it was raven's claws, and then it came into my arm.
It was so cool, man.
The whole entire arm was like straight up to where when I'd step to the mic, I'd be stepping to my hand. The mic, so the mic would fit right inside my hand of the mic stand itself, and then I would wrap my hands around my hand and sing.
And this thing weighed probably what,
Raven's claw,
15 pounds?
Yeah, probably 15 pounds.
It was a weapon.
It was made of black resin, and the cool thing about it, you could really see, but you could see the veins the way he did it. You could actually see my actual veins in the sculpture itself, because he was an art student, so it was an art project that he did, and he got an A on it.
You got so many compliments on that from people.
Decided it'd be.
It was always a talking point.
It was before bands like Korn. Oh yeah, and it was before bands like Korn came out with their silly little mic stands. Korn. Like,
yes.
Yeah. I was the mic stand originator.
You very well might have been. Who knows? I mean, we played so many damn shows, dude. Who knows who saw us,
Yeah.
When we got on the plane to fly back here to play a gig in Illinois, like probably 5 or 6 people that were from Phoenix had been to one of our shows at the Jar or the Ballroom or Boston's or whatever.
Right on.
We played a lot of shows.
Boston's. I remember Boston's. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, if you got booked at Boston's, you were a big deal at that time.
Good. Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow.
What's the music scene like in Phoenix
your ticket
now?
Steps, and we can go over the. I don't know. I don't really go. Every now and then I'll check out with some friends. We'll go see cover bands in casinos, but I haven't picked up a New Times in 20 years, and that's where all the band stuff used to be. I don't know. When I go to record stores, the record stores I go to don't really promote local bands, which is kind of shitty.
That's all. Other than ASU, that's how we got all our.
I just. Yeah.
That was the best thing, is going down to ASU
the last time I went out
finding the hottest chicks you could. Scott and I rather enjoyed that job.
Man. Hitting the pavement. Oh, I bet you did.
It's like, yeah, we'll go sell the tickets.
Yep. Good old Scott. Did you reach out to Rick at all? Did you poke at him?
No, but I need to.
William Richard Carr III?
I'll get on that.
He always looked at me funny when I introduced him, when I did the band introductions, you know.
That
He'd
was the
always
best,
look at
man.
me like with a little evil eye when I'd say William Richard Carr the third
Third the
on bass,
third.
and get the stink eye like, it's Rick, man. William Richard Carr the third. Mr. Mike Michaels on guitars. Scott Connor on the drums.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
please
good
welcome Mr.
times.
Chris Dunham.
Yeah, that would be me.
We did that a few times.
Well, where are we at? We did. We did that a few times for sure. I
I,
introduced. I think every set we ever played, I introduced the band. I
you
don't
did
ever
every
remember
time.
not introducing the band.
No, you did it
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
that.
That's just
It brought back
Yeah.
memories.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You have to, man. People need to know who you are and why you're there. You know,
Everybody
that's the
always left
whole. That's the whole
better than they
point
came.
of it, right?
Yeah. Everybody
They
always left
did
our show
with a
happier
smile on
than
their
when they
face.
got
Yeah,
there. So I guess ultimately,
which is cool because not all. Yeah,
I would say ultimately for you and I, that would be our mission statement or mantra for this podcast is we hope that when you get done listening to this, that you either laughed or cried or thought about
yeah,
something or just had an emotion and that it made you happy. If they're tears, I hope they're
yeah,
happy tears. You know, I
yeah.
want positivity bred into the world now.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
No
Yeah,
time for
because not
hate,
all
man.
my songs were happy. You know. No, no time for hate. Not
No,
all the
but I
songs I
think
wrote were happy either, but it
I
was the way
think the
they it's the way
I
they
think
were
the
delivered. People could resonate with them and they could catch on to it.
I think the point that they're missing though is the ones that weren't positive were therapeutic to you in your own personal way that we knew because you shared it with us,
Hmm.
but the public never
Yep.
got to hear that, you know, so what they would interpret as, wow, that's an angry song.
Hmm.
It might have been an angry song, but that was your way of
Right.
dealing with it without hurting anybody.
Absolutely. Yep.
Music is therapeutic.
Absolutely.
So
It's purge. Oh yeah. Without
if it
music, who
needed a
knows?
tough guitar riff, we would make it a tough
Hmm.
guitar riff and it would support the song. It would support the message. It might make it sound like it was an angry
Yep.
song or that you were being angry, but it was music is therapy, man. Some of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life
Oh,
play the
absolutely.
heaviest music. Those death metal guys, all they're
Right.
doing is trying to scare people. They're the
Uh
nicest
huh.
guys you'd ever want to meet for the most part. They get their aggressions out on
Oh
stage
yeah.
every night.
Oh yeah. Well yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. People don't. Not everybody, but there's collective groups in my lifetime that never, when the whole Tipper Gore shit was going on. Oh, Metallica's Satan worshippers, and AC/DC's the devil's music. All they didn't. Nobody understood. Nobody's evil, man. It's a show. It's a character you step into. You couldn't be Metallica without having that dark, imminent presence because it was such groundbreaking music and so off the wall. Where the hell did this come from? Like you could never release an album called "Kill 'Em All" today with that cover on it. There's no way.
No,
Like
that's not
you'd
going to
get
fly nowadays.
destroyed.
Absolutely.
Right. But back then, it's just. I mean, that's the thing, man. Metallica did for heavy metal what grunge did, what Seattle did for grunge, right? Because there was two different eras of time, and when Metallica broke in and kind of hit the mainstream, that nobody heard that fucking driving, angry, just in your face, like fuck you, here I am music like they put out. I mean,
So
I like all the Metallica up to Black, and Black I think kind of made them commercialized, which there's a whole debate that we won't go down there, but
I like all
I
that.
liked everything pre-Black. Black's all right. Right. Black's all right, but Black was
I
their
like it all,
commercial
man.
success, which they had to right. They had to go there because they had to evolve. You know what I mean? Like you can't just stay and Kill 'Em All world. You have to evolve. I mean, Ride the Lightning is still all their pre-Black stuff stands the test of time. Black took them to the stratosphere, and then the S&M stuff with the orchestra I thought was
Amazing.
fantastic because whoever
Oh,
thought that Metallica's music
amazing.
could actually write like Look at
So
my
there's a
chiropractor's
good,
office. There's
if I can
acoustic
find it,
versions of
I'll write it
Metallica
down
song,
and
and
I'll
he's sitting there
share it
doing the same.
because
Like,
it's totally
that's
worth
Metallica. Let's kill them
watching this
all.
YouTube clip.
It's
It's the,
one. It's acoustic. Like, what the fuck? It's
so
music.
dude, there's a
But
YouTube clip out there with
that's how
Michael
they wrote it.
Kamen.
Now,
He's the
yeah. Oh
director of
yeah.
the orchestra. He's dead now,
Orchestra.
but there's a good clip of
Yeah,
him
I know.
talking about writing the charts for Master of Puppets, the song itself. And he said, I went to James and I said, this section right here, he said, it's very interesting. He said, were you guys aware that you wrote it in 22, 30 seconds? And James said, I was embarrassed, but I just had to look at him and say, nah, man, we just thought it was cool. And that dude started laughing. It's just a great, here's this musical genius, conductor, can do anything, play any instrument, write it, notate it, do anything. And he was fascinated that a band of 4 people could pull off a musical feat like Master of Puppets. It is a musical feat. It's like 220 beats a minute or something, just nonstop, except for that little middle section.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. No, that's one of my favorite all-time songs too. And the S&M version is fucking fantastic, but the original one is still just, it's just.
So we could go on we could go on for days about Metallica, and we probably will at some point. But to harken back to how this whole point started, I heard about Metallica in 1985, 84, when Ride the Lightning came out. My buddy Mark Brewer was giving me a ride to school. I was probably I must have been a freshman in high school because he would have been a sophomore. And he popped that thing in his cassette deck, and it's changed my life ever since, man. Just hearing that opening to Fight Fire with Fire, unbelievable.
Right.
Nobody had ever heard anything like that, man.
My older brother.
The kids today can't understand that there was nothing like that. They were the first.
Right.
We were listening to Def Leppard and Motley Crue, man.
Exactly. None of them. That's the one thing that where we're at in the music world today. There's nothing that's not been tapped into. Now it's just everybody's a thief on some level, but not intentionally.
Agreed. I know exactly. It's hard to be an original nowadays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It is. Because even the stuff we wrote in Nemesis that would still, would still be relevant today. If it came out today, it would be compared to something else that came out since then, I'm sure.
And I'm very proud of that.
Lyrical content and yeah. We have quite a few.
We didn't use a bunch of studio magic. We just went out there and played, man.
Mm-mm.
There's 2 lessons that I learned from Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin. The 2 lessons that I took away from studying Zeppelin more than any other band was split everything 25%. There's no argument. Doesn't matter who wrote what. Without that other guy being there, there's no band. Okay? That's rule number 1.
Agreed.
Rule number 2 is don't do anything in the studio that you can't recreate live. And he broke that rule a little bit.
Absolutely.
But he was always able to lean on John Paul Jones to play some kind of keyboard stuff to support the other guitars that weren't there, right?
Yeah. No,
Jimmy's
but it's true. And that's how
he's the Beethoven of guitars for our generation, no question.
Right on. That's a good analogy.
It is. To me, he is, just because, to your point, he recorded stuff that still sounds just like it did the day it was. It doesn't sound like it came from 1967 or 1975. It sounds like it was recorded yesterday, right?
Yeah.
You hear a Led Zeppelin song, it doesn't harken you back to 1970. It's just a Led Zeppelin song.
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. It stands the test of time for sure. Even if you go back and I mean, obviously they've remastered their stuff, but
if you go back and listen to Trickster or Slaughter, it's clear that it's 1987, correct? nothing wrong with those bands. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying if you hear that sound, you say, oh my God, that takes me back to 1988, right? If Good Times, Bad Times comes on right now, I'm just like cranking it up. I'm not thinking, oh, it's 1968, right?
Right. Oh yeah. True.
Even the Doors didn't have that power.
Yeah. No, because a lot, their stuff came from the '60s and the '70s, just because of a lot of it was driven by Manzarek and Robbie and the way they played. It's still the keyboards itself. I think kind of the way Manzarek played them kind of locked them in that time capsule of the '60s.
And the sound, the actual sound that he used.
Yep, absolutely.
It just fascinates me more and more all the time at how talented Jimmy was, not only as a guitar player and a songwriter, but as a producer and an engineer, because the sounds that he got, he didn't use all that studio magic. It just, whatever he did to record that music, it stood the test of time. It just fascinates me.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That's one man's vision.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which is insane. Like, get inside of his brain for a day, just for a day.
I would love to
see what he's kind of like Prince. Like, what did Prince hear all that shit? That everything that Prince ever recorded, did he hear all that shit in his head before he laid it down, or was it just, you know what I mean? Those are those things. Those are those things that always, because I've never had the full. When I write lyrically, I've never had the music in my head, per se, and then in all the nuances, I always needed you guys to feed off. Well, the drums got to go this way, and the bass got to go this way. And I just heard the melody. I saw what I wrote, and then the melody came up based on what kind of riff you came up with, and then you guys kind of filled in all the pieces to make it this big sound. And that was true for any band I was ever in when it came to writing. I could lyrics and melodies and structuring, but
the best way that I can describe it from a musician standpoint is, I used to have a really complicated explanation, but I've simplified it. You would understand my complicated explanation, but most people go cross-eyed on me. So the best way I can describe it is, it's like in my mind, I can feel the rhythm, and the pieces, which would be the chords, are like puzzle pieces floating along in my mind, and I just plug them in where they belong, right? So I'm feeling the rhythm. The universe vibrates at frequencies, and we're going to get really woo-woo now, but that's the reason that a lot of musicians like to get high, because you're on another frequency now, right?
Right.
So on that frequency, I'm going to play differently than I am when I'm on a sober frequency. It just changes the way that you play. So now the puzzle pieces look differently than they would have if I was not under the influence of anything. You're just vibrating at a different frequency. That's all there is to it. But as far as writing the music,
that's a cool analogy.
It's just like putting puzzle pieces in there.
Yeah.
That's why you need drummers. Drummers are good at putting the puzzle together because they understand sections. They can count. That's the big one. They can count.
Yeah. Right. Thank God for that. Well, we're over an hour. Should we call it a day? Get back to life for the week.
Repeat that, because you froze up on me.
I said we're over an hour, so we should probably call it a day. Call it a show. What's this, our fourth show?
This is number 4.
Number 4. The Chris and Mike Show. What are we going to call this one? Ramblings? Musical ramblings.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'll let you name
Musical Ramblings, episode 4 of the Chris and Mike Show.
Thanks for everybody for hanging in with us for this long.
Yeah,
it's a democracy.
Appreciate it. Hopefully you got something good out of this. It is a democracy.
It is.
So for Mike Michaels, I'm Chris Dunham.
He's Chris Dunham.
We'll see you next time, right?
Peace.
All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. See ya.
Hey,